So here is, and if we want to separate this out, let me give a preamble. We have just gone over the bad state of the box office for the Marvels and a spoilery secondhand review of what we've heard about the movie from trusted sources and varied sources.
Yes.
Um, we did not actually waste the time and money to see the movie,
No.
uh, nor did we pirate it.
No.
Um, I actually was poking around it this afternoon, and I think I came up with a way that you could have made a cool version of this movie
Mm.
that would actually make use of everything you've set up and give you your X-Men tie-in.
Ah. All right. Let's hear it.
Okay, so I'm going to change nothing about Captain Marvel, WandaVision, or the Ms. Marvel TV show.
Okay.
Um, I am also going to actually tie in Secret Invasion
Okay.
into this. Now, that might not be realistic because who knows what order things were originally supposed to come out in. Because it
Mm.
could be that originally they assumed that the Marvels would have already come out by the time that Secret Invasion was put out.
Yeah.
But we're just going to go with, because like the state of the scrolls, from what I've heard of the Marvels, doesn't seem like they just tried to do a coup, a genocidal coup of the human race.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
All right, so, and this occurred to me while I was doing some chores earlier. You know what the strangest thing about Captain Marvel as she exists in the MCU is?
That she's horribly unlikable.
Okay, no, that's understandable given the particular brand of Carol Danvers they're drawing on from the comics.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Like I will say, like out of all the movies to be like a one-to-one adaptation of the character, she is like a perfect rendition of the Kelly Sue DeConnick version of Captain Marvel from the mid 2010s.
Yes. Yeah.
I've read some of those comics. They're not great now.
Yeah.
Um, Now, the strangest thing is by setting the comic in the 90s, or comic, by setting that first movie in the 90s,
Yeah.
why hasn't Carol aged in 30 years?
Magic Kree powers.
Okay, okay, solid.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so my overall premise is that since we know that Nick Fury, she trusts him to call her to Earth if she's needed.
Yeah.
We know this from the Infinity Saga movies. Um, what struck me is that in the aftermath of Secret Invasion, you now like while you do have a super scroll, like Amelia Clark's character, whose name escapes me, is like a character on par with Captain Marvel in terms of power.
Yeah.
Even though she helped stop this scroll uprising, is Nick Fury necessarily going to trust another scroll with even more power in his backyard?
Probably not.
No.
Yeah.
So what he does, and I'm going to completely ignore all of the space adventures that she in theory has been having up to now because they were off camera. We know from the end of Shang-Chi that she's been sort of operating with the Avengers and coordinating with them a bit.
Yeah.
Uh, but it doesn't seem like she has actually returned to Earth.
Mm.
But I'm going to actually lower our budget a bit by reducing the number of all CGI um, uh, landscapes we have to generate,
Okay.
and have it set mostly on Earth.
Hmm.
Um, because Nick Fury asked her to return to Earth to help keep an eye on the scrolls and maybe restart the whole Avengers initiative. And
Hmm.
her basic answer is, no, I don't want to, I don't want to come back to Earth. There's nothing for me here anymore. And it kind of riff a little bit from like Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Right.
Um, and it's like, I don't, it's been too long. It's too awkward. I don't know these people anymore. Like whatever family I might still have,
Yeah.
which also includes Monica Rambeau there.
Yes.
So she gets, but Nick wears her down. Hey, this is a big threat. Super Scrolls off planet. Look, doing what you were trying to do and find the Scrolls a new homeworld. Well, by the way, why didn't she do that? I've been busy. She talks about having to fight the Kree in space and yada yada yada, and
Yeah.
you know what you need, Carol? You need a vacation. I do not need a vacation. Look, come to Earth. You can. We'll get you a job. We'll set you up nice. You just have to be a deterrent. You're like a nuclear weapon. We don't want to use you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I wasn't originally thinking dialogue for it, but that does feel kind of natural for their interactions from the first movie.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and so, Carol has been living in space since the 90s, and she was already, because of her amnesia, sort of detached from Earth to start with. So she's going to show up and be feel very out of place. Right.
Right.
Because she's now a fish out of water. So we're using the fact that she hasn't aged. We're using the fact that the character was presented as awkward.
Yeah.
We can have some light comedy moments where she's confused why they won't take her cash and things like that.
Yeah.
It's a vending machine. Where do I put my quarters in?
Yeah. Yeah. Why do I have to use a credit card everywhere?
All right. And you could have Monica around. But I had the least idea of what to do with Monica because the way she was presented in WandaVision really doesn't give you much to work with outside of she misses her dead mom.
Yeah.
Now she can feel, apparently in the movie proper, she feels like Carol abandoned her, which could be, that ties into the whole "there's nothing left for me there, it's too awkward now" thing.
Right.
But and you could even have it that Monica has taken a job with Shield, or possibly she has joined the revived Avengers Initiative. Which Carol says, "I am not part of the Avengers Initiative. Here's your badge. I am not part of the Avengers Initiative."
Yeah.
Come on, we named it after your plane.
Yeah.
So, once she's back on Earth, you know who is just super duper excited about this?
Kamala Khan.
Kamala Khan, the biggest Carol fangirl in the world. And Carol can be very confused about why she is a fangirl of her. How do you know who I am? Would be her immediate question.
Yeah.
And what you can do is you can show the scene where she's fighting Thanos and she is beating his ass until he pulls out the Power Stone. That was so cool, and I must have watched that scene 1,000 times that year, and
yeah,
you made me feel like I could do anything. And so Kamala is kind of Carol's link back to the human race. It's that person who has ultimate faith in her.
Yeah.
They might go, DB, so far this sounds like you still have the hyper-powerful Captain Marvel breezing on easy mode through life, except for when the plot demands that she have momentary difficulty. Because the Da Ben, or whatever the character's name is from the movie, apparently could give Carol a fight, even though she really shouldn't, because in the movie she actually restarts a sun's nuclear reactions by flying through it.
Wow.
So earlier on, I promised a connection to, you want to bring the X-Men into the MCU. Here's an indirect way you do it. Because you know what villain is going to give Captain Marvel trouble? The Juggernaut, bitch.
Yeah.
So, if the theme of the movie is kind of connection and protection, Kane Marco, the Juggernaut, is going to act as the dark mirror of that. So, for those of you who don't know, the Juggernaut is one of the weirder X-Men villains when you get down to it, because he is Well, first off, who names your kid Kane? Come on, you're just d- begging him to be a supervillain.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, he is actually not a mutant in the original version.
Ah. And T Rhino, don't you know who I am?
Uh, you could even have him use that line if you felt like it, though. I think that at this point it's a dead, tired meme.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it would certainly tie into the whole, bad men thing
Right. Yeah.
that Captain Marvel goes for.
Hmm.
But in the original, and this kind of shows how dated parts of the Marvel universe are. He and Charles Xavier so he is Charles Xavier's stepbrother who bullied him relentlessly as a kid,
Right.
and the two of them were in serving in the Korean War, I believe, and they came across an ancient temple with the Crimson Bands of Cyttorak, which were actually a spell that Doctor Strange would often invoke, although I
Mm.
don't know where it came from first.
Uh,
So that when Doctor Strange uses the Crimson Bands of Cyttorak, it's just like a defensive spell in most continuities.
mm.
When uh, when Kane Marco grabbed this, it turned him, whosoever holds the Crimson Bands of Cyttorak shall become a living juggernaut.
Ah.
So he's basically the Hulk because of this magical artifact he found.
Okay. Yeah.
So in this movie, um, he is actually if you want to make it Carol's fault, Carol says, I'm not an Avenger, I'm not your lackey. I'll be your nuclear deterrent here, but I'm focused on my own things.
Hmm.
She is asked to go help out with the situation. You could even set it in Korea, just like have it be, a commando team going across the DMZ,
Yeah.
and things go awry because Carol isn't there to help out against something or other, and he finds this temple and gets this insane power and decides that, what, I lived my whole life dying and bleeding for other men's wars. I'm going to get some for me.
Yeah.
And the thing about the Juggernaut is that not only is he like a Hulk level strength, he has some unique properties. Like once he starts moving, he is like the unstoppable force.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. There's no immovable object to stop him. Yeah.
yeah, the what would happen? I don't know what would happen if the Juggernaut, the unstoppable object, rammed into the unmovable blob, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So Juggernaut is actually a very difficult character for Carol to deal with because if she tries to go strength for strength, then she could be outmatched, and he won't
Yeah.
feel anything.
Right. Yeah.
Like the way they always had to deal with him was to find a way to pry his helmet off so that Professor X could hit him with mind bolts. Well, there's no
Right.
Professor X in this, so they got to get creative in different ways,
Right. Yeah.
which brings you to where Kamala Khan having a different Green Lantern-y power set, and Photon, aka Monica Rambeau, having her ability to change her body. Like like in the comics, she could change her body to light. I think she could turn intangible, move at light speed, all that other fun stuff. Shoot energy
Yeah.
bolts, if I'm recalling right. It's
Yeah.
it's not an era of the Avengers I'm super familiar with. Sorry.
Yeah. That's all right.
Um, but like if Carol's whole thing is I don't need anybody, I don't, an Avengers would just slow me down.
Yeah.
I'll be your nuclear deterrent. Leave me alone. If there's a problem, I'll just deal with it. It kind of
Yeah.
it's kind of her reconnecting with the human race, stopping to being such a fish out of water, realizing, like, yeah, learning to accept the fact that Monica, sees her as like a mother figure, even though it's weird that they're the same age now.
Yeah.
And them reconciling, realizing that Kamala loves her unconditionally, and that's okay. Like, although Kamala can kind of have some "don't meet your hero" moments, because at the end of the day, Carol is still kind of a sarcastic person,
Yeah.
sarcastic, mean person, and so they eventually managed to team up to trap the Juggernaut. You could even steal Spider-Man's solution from that one comic where he had to fight the Juggernaut one-on-one from the 80s
Yeah.
or 70s, 80s, where
Yeah.
he trapped him in the concrete foundations of a building.
Ah. Yeah.
And so what this movie accomplishes is it does explain why the three Marvels have to team up. It explains why they would want to team up. Um, it gives you an X-Men villain that could give Carol real problems, and it would actually, if you want her to be the leader of the next Avengers, there's your plot line for why she decides to become the leader of the next Avengers, is realizing that even someone as strong as her can use teamwork and make her realize that she doesn't have to be alone just because she's weird and ageless and everything.
Right. Yeah.
So that is my proposal for what would have been a cooler The Marvels.
Yes. And how long did it take for you to come up with that?
I'd say about 20 minutes. There were some details I was hammering out this afternoon in the back of my head as I was going about my chores, but and then of course I was talking with you about it on Discord, and just the act of writing down your ideas always helps them out. But
Right. Yeah.
I believe that is, again, like, I made very few changes. I was actually I actually had some ideas for, like, oh, you could have Kamala have to use her shapeshifting powers to impersonate Carol in one scene. And I said, oh darn, the Disney Plus one gives her energy Green Lantern powers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so she couldn't actually do that.
Yeah.
Which the original comic book power set was more creative and cooler, but also harder to pull off in a Disney Plus budget.
Right.
So
Yeah.
One Piece kind of proves that the opposite.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, so that was my self-indulgent little fanfic how I would do a The Marvels movie if you put a gun to my head and said you aren't allowed to retcon anything and you can't change any of the previous movies.
Yeah. And it's infinitely better than the Marvels that we got.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing is that Brie Larson did the movie. It's either The Room or Room, which was
Yeah.
about the one that she won the Oscar for, which honestly is probably what got her to Marvel's attention in the first place.
Yeah.
She was able to portray a vulnerable character in that one. So it's like putting her up against a villain that she would actually have reason to be afraid of. Because when was the last time that she was actually challenged? Like Thanos had to cheat with a Power Stone to have a chance against her.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the biggest problem with the character is she's so overpowered. It's just it's difficult to find a villain that could match her, and
You know, and then the other, dang it, the thought was there, then it went away. What was it? What was it? There was something that had occurred to me that was kind of interesting about this setup. Um, oh yeah, and also since the Crimson Bands of Cyttorak are also tied to Doctor Strange, I doubt you could get Benedict Cumberbatch to come in, and you wouldn't want to bring him in because once he's in, he has to be a focal point of everything.
right. Yeah.
But you could have Wong show up
Yeah.
to explain the magical elements of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because Wong is the Sorcerer Supreme in the MCU. So.
Yep, and they do like to have him show up in places like She-Hulk and whatnot.
Yeah, and Shang-Chi fighting
Shang-Chi,
the Abomination
for reasons.
yeah, yeah.
And then and here's the beauty of this. Let's say that they are going to reset the MCU, and it's going to be a totally new X-Men. Well, we haven't shown any X-Men in this. We just have one of their more famous villains.
Yeah.
Who you CGI him up and make him look kind of roided out and cool like this.
Yeah.
That's going to sell some tickets.
Yeah. Well, well, I don't know if it would work since it's in a different universe, but you could do Ryan Reynolds as Juggernaut like he did in Deadpool 2.
Wait, Ryan Reynolds was Juggernaut?
Yeah, yeah,
I, huh.
yeah.
I,
Little known fact. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, that could be a fun little. No, now the way I'm kind of picturing it would almost be like Emil Blonsky from The Incredible Hulk,
Okay.
as like kind of like the aging disillusioned soldier.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't
Yeah.
think that Reynolds could portray that. I don't know who I would cast for that. But I'm just the idea man
Right.
for
Yeah.
ideas that will never realistically happen.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Yeah.
But definitely more interesting than another energy beam in the sky as the
Yeah.
heroes fight a sympathetic villain with no
Right.
who will be defeated in the same movie.
Yeah. You know. Well, I mean, Amazon hired those two guys to do the Lord of the Rings show, and they had little to no experience.
So yeah, my
Well,
DMs are open,
y-
Amazon
yeah. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Marvel or anybody else. Hit me
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Indeed. All right. Well, this was a good idea. Yeah.
Yes, this was a lot of fun just to carve this out, and I had to express this stupid fanfic idea before I moved on. But what it shows to show is that uh, you don't necessarily have to have the best start to come up with an interesting story extrapolating from it.
Right. Yeah.
Now, would my version have necessarily done enough better to pay off a $275 million budget? Likely not.
Yeah.
Because the character itself, you'd still have the problems that the character was originally unpopular, and um, two of the three characters you have to have watched Disney Plus shows to know who they are, and
Yeah.
other issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
But having the Juggernaut show up in the trailers and having some of the fish out of water moments of a character who hasn't been on Earth consistently since the 90s, trying to reintegrate with Earth life,
Yeah.
and also her and Nick Fury bantering, which was people's favorite part of the original movie in the trailer.
Yeah.
Way more tickets. I realized I didn't find a way to integrate the Flurkin. Moving
Meh.
on.
Meh. All right. Well, yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. I know this was a sort of last minute thing that we just kind of put together, but we appreciate you coming in and watching us. And if you like us doing this kind of thing, like on a Sunday night going over box office, let us know in the comments,
Yeah,
or
can't promise to do it every week,